time before we go. Oh, we are live. I was going to say the amount of time before we go live varies from week to week, but apparently we're live now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Legal Lunch and Learn, a weekly live show where we ask an expert your questions on a legal topic. My name is Cindy, and I am a staff attorney here at Maryland Legal Aid. The co-host of the show is Director of Community Lawyer Initiative, Attorney Megan McDermott.
Thanks, Cindy.
And in the background, working very hard to make sure everything is running smoothly is our production engineer, Alec Chase. Joining us today is our expert on veterans benefit, Attorney Scott Black. And of course, our topic today is veterans benefits. So viewers out there, if you do have questions about veterans benefits, please leave a comment down below. You can also direct or private message us if you want to remain anonymous. And of course, if you do have immediate legal issues, please contact us. And our email here is lawyer at mdlab.org. That's LAWYER at mdlab.org. And our phone number here is 443-451-2805. Before we get started, just a quick disclaimer, just because you listen to our show and you take some legal information from the show, it does not establish an attorney-client relationship between any of the attorneys that you see here today or with Maryland Legal Aid. Again, if you do have an immediate legal issue, make sure you're contacting us. And of course, we will have those information in the comment down below in case you missed it. And for those who do need captions, our shows are uploaded to YouTube right after we go off live. So you can also watch the videos there if you do need captions. So with that out of the way, every week I feel our intro gets longer and longer. But without that out of the way, hi Scott, how are you?
Hi Cindy. Hi Megan.
So just to get things started so that our viewers know a little bit more about you, talk about your experience in the areas of veteran benefits.
My experience in the military is I was in the Pennsylvania National Guard, and then I was a DOD, Department of Defense contractor for several years. I've also lived on base as a military spouse, and I've worked in the JAG office both through law school and then past that. And now I'm with Maryland Legal Aid as the veterans attorney.
Yep, definitely have some behind the scene knowledge here with us. You know this about me already. We know each other for years, actually. But I am also a military spouse. So this week's topic is very much near and dear to my heart. And of course, I'm very happy that Maryland Legal Aid does provide support for veterans who might need benefits. So talk about the cases that you do commonly take here at Maryland Legal Aid.
Well, we first off, Maryland Legal Aid has a veterans hotline, which is dedicated to veterans, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with a veterans issue. They can call in with a domestic issue or a consumer issue and get advice through that dedicated hotline. I deal typically with veterans who have an issue with some benefit coming from the Veterans Affairs, so the VA. And a lot of the times we're talking about VA disability compensation or veterans pension or discharge upgrade kind of issues, or denial for VA healthcare, those types of things.
Yep. So just to clarify in terms of our veterans hotline, is there any qualification? I know the word veteran means different things to different departments when you're talking about different benefits. So in terms of our requirements for a veteran, is there any requirement at all for them to use our hotline?
So we have our definition of veterans for you to enter the door to receive our services is if you're in one of the qualified services, the Coast Guard, Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, and you raised your right hand and swore in, then you qualify. So it doesn't, we're not looking at the characterization of your discharge. We're not looking at the length of service. It's, were you in, did you have an obligation? And that's what we're calling a veteran,
Yep.
which is
And
very different than the VA.
absolutely. And of course, we'll get into that in just a little bit here. So let's actually talk about the VA real quick, and let's go over some very basic benefits that a service member may have. So just to start off, I'm sure you know the VA is the second largest federal department in the United States, right after the Department of Defense, of course. And it's very large. So it comes with, so a service member, would be eligible for a lot of benefits. So just very broadly, can you go over what are some of the benefits that are eligible to our service members?
Sure, and by that, I'm going to qualify it as saying that these are the benefits that the VA would provide, because there are other benefits that you're entitled to, such as free legal assistance from legal aid. But I'm going to limit my response to the kind of benefits that you're entitled to from your service from the VA. And
Absolutely.
top of the list would probably be VA disability compensation. I'm just gonna go through the list, and then we can dig deeper into each one as you want. But VA disability compensation, there's a VA pension program, and if you qualify for that, then there's things underneath the pension program, such as aid and attendance or being housebound. There's medical care and prescription drugs through the VA hospital medical facilities. There are educational programs such as the GI Bill, the post 9/11 GI Bill, the Montgomery Bill, et cetera, et cetera. You can get home loans, the VA home loans, which is, I don't do much of that, but that's something that comes through a private lender or a bank, but you have if you're eligible to take care of that, there are certain barriers that are taken down, or certain more favorable terms are put in place for that. The VA offers job training, small business loans, counseling, and then finally there's burials or memorials that you may be entitled to receive as a benefit of your service.
Yep.
So that's the broad list of things that you can.
Yep. And of course, the more information about these benefits can be found online at the official VA website. I'm going to go ahead and post that link for anyone who might need it later on. Give me just a second here. And of course, so earlier, I asked you about what makes a person veteran, or what kind of qualification a person has to use our service. So when it comes to the VA and these benefits that you just listed, what might prevent someone from being eligible in terms of receiving these services?
Well, that's a good question. And the answer is it depends. It depends on the program, and because they each have different qualifications. For example, one of the finickiest one probably to get is the educational programs, such as a GI Bill or whatnot. That one you'd have to have qualified with your service, and your character of discharge typically has to be honorable, which is the highest discharge qualification that their characterization that there is. So that one is the probably the highest standard to meet. All of the other ones, as long as your discharge characterization is not dishonorable, it's kind of an awkward wording that they have in place. It's the actual wording is other than dishonorable conditions, and that's can cover quite a few of your different types of discharge. So when you separate from the military, there are various levels of characterization of your discharge. On top of the list is honorable discharge, and that one entitles you to all the benefits as long as you qualify for the other reasons. Then underneath that, there's a general discharge. Then there's a other than honorable, and then you kind of go into the punitive discharges, which is our bad conduct and dishonorable. And then there are some other ones too. There's uncharacterized services, entry-level separation. If you serve less than 180 days, you might get an entry-level separation, or you can have a medical separation. All of those things go on your record, and typically you can see that on a form called your DD-214, which you're going to present to all of these benefits of the VA and be part of your major part of your assessment for whether or not you qualify for whatever benefit you're looking for.
Right. Now that you mentioned DD-214, let's talk about, so I know you do get your DD-214 at separation, and what if it's been quite a bit? It's been a couple of years, you lost your original paper. How would you go about to either request another DD-214 or maybe a copy of your service record?
Well, that's not that difficult to do. You would request that record. You can go on to, if you have access to the internet, you can sign up for eBenefits, which is a web portal jointly managed by Department of Defense and the VA. And if you have that account created, you can request documents that way. You can also file a claim for a benefit, and you can track that as well if you can. If you don't have access and you don't want to create an eBenefits account, you can submit a records request to the VA, and you can specifically ask for a DD-214. You can also show up at a VA facility and see if they would assist you in filling out the SF-180 or whatever request you want in order to get it. So that if you don't have one, you can absolutely request to receive it. That record should be on file at the VA.
So when you do the request, do you need to have a valid home address, or if can someone homeless, would they be able to request one as well?
Sure, you'd have to have some kind of contact information for them to be able to get it to you, but a lot of times, not a lot of times, but there are some clients of ours that I am the person who's receiving those documents, if that's what makes the most sense. And so you have an ability also, if the veteran is not able to file that and you have a relationship with the veteran, such as a spouse, there are places on the SF-180 which you'll identify yourself as the spouse, and then you'll be required to produce some evidence that you are that relationship, and then that will gain you access to being able to request those documents as well.
Yep, absolutely. And in your experience, generally, how long does it take for them to process the request and send the information to you? Or let me rephrase this better. If I had
It's a
sent a
tough
request,
question. Well,
yeah.
I've had it take a few weeks, and I've had it take substantially longer. It depends. It depends. 6 weeks.
Yeah. Would they be able to follow up, or is one of those you just gotta wait kind of thing?
Yeah, you can try to follow up. You can call the VA. They have an active hotline you can call, but you just have to wait. You file it, and it comes in when it comes in.
Yep. So once you get your records and get all your documents together, let's go to what I really want to focus on for today, which is, well, two things that I want to focus on. One is the healthcare benefit and the disability compensation. So let's talk about the healthcare benefits first, because I think that's one of the very commonly requested one, and very important when it comes to a veteran's well-being later on. So let's go to the top and talk to us about what is covered under the healthcare.
Well, medical care and prescription drugs, if you qualify, and it can and that can be a challenge, but typically to be eligible, you'd need to have served in the active service for your contracted period, or for 24 continuous months and then again, not have received a dishonorable discharge. And that is assessed when you go in for your health care. So,
Okay.
so let's say that you are a veteran and you haven't considered a VA healthcare, but now you are considering it. Go to your nearest VA medical facility with your DD-214 or at least an ID, and then say that you would like to get healthcare there, and they'll begin their determination. And you shouldn't, as we talked about earlier today, you shouldn't shy away because you don't have an honorable characterization. That is not a non-starter. It'll be assessed at it should be assessed at the regional office, whether or not you have the eligibility to go. And then you can challenge that if you're denied.
So in terms of application for services, do you have to physically go to a hospital or VA hospital, or can you apply online?
No, you can do everything online.
And that's the e-benefits account we talked
That
about.
is one way to do it, e-benefits account. There's also a dedicated VA healthcare line as well, I believe. And or you could do it by mail if you prefer to do it by mail.
Yep, and I think we posted the benefits.va.gov website, and for those who are listening and who are interested in learning more and finding these websites that we're talking about, you can find them all by going to that link. It has very conveniently different tabs that you can click on to lead you to the correct website that you do need to go to apply. So let's talk about, in terms of VA healthcare, let's talk about what might prevent someone from being eligible. So earlier you said you don't necessarily have to have an honorable discharge. So I'm assuming if you have a general discharge, that's probably fine too. But what might prevent someone from actually being eligible?
Sure. So let's say you go there and you have something other than an honorable discharge, and the person who assesses it looks at it and says, no, you're not eligible for healthcare because of your discharge, your characterization, your discharge. That can be challenged, and it's happened where a person would show up and then some functionary at the hospital gives the DD-214 a cursory look and then denies it on the spot. And a lot of times that's enough to deter the veteran from pursuing their health care. That should not be the final answer. That's not necessarily how the process is supposed to work. The VA does do the determination, but it should be at the regional office, I believe, and it should be with reasons for why it was denied, and then you can challenge those reasons. If one of our listeners does apply to get VA healthcare and they are denied and they feel that was improper, then they should pursue that. And if you need to get legal assistance, that would be advised.
Yep, and I'll just come out and ask because I'm a very direct person, and this is a very direct show. So if someone did unfortunately receive, let's say, a bad conduct discharge, should they still try?
You can always try. Yeah, you can
What's-
always try that. Yeah, you're not going to get penalized for trying to get healthcare. One of those punitive discharges would be harder to argue out from. Every stage away from honorable that you go is a harder argument, but for sure, try.
Yep. So let's move on to disability compensation, and we can talk briefly about discharge upgrades a little bit later on. But let's go over disability compensation real quick. So what exactly is it?
Sure. So disability compensation is a monthly tax-free benefit you get from the VA if you incurred or aggravated an injury during your time of service, and you're currently suffering from that injury or disability, and you can successfully connect those two events: your current disability and your in-service event that led to that disability. And so the VA looks at your injury, and they'll make a determination from 0 to 100%, and based on that percentage, you'll get a monthly check. And that that injury or disability, as you age or as it advances, can be reassessed, and you can have your ratings increased as that disability advances. Or let's say that that disability is in your knee, and that disability in your knee causes you to favor your right hip, and then that right hip now becomes disabled. That's called a secondary condition, and that can also be assessed and can advance and can have a ratings increase. The one caveat to that is every time you go in and have the VA assess you for VA disability, they can also assess you in the other direction. They can say, oh, your disability,
now.
that's right, your disability looks less extreme, so your rating is going to decrease. That's the one thing that you have to consider by going back and asking for a ratings increase. So
Yep.
the other important part of that, and you probably have a follow-up question, but you don't have to have a continuous suffering from your injury that happened in the military to today. So let's say that you're 19 and young, and your joints are all made of rubber and everything, and you fall off the back of a Humvee or a truck, and then you recover within 2 weeks. You go to the medic, you go to the doctor, you get treated for that, and you fully recover. And then you live 20 years without having any kind of what you feel is ramifications from that fall from that Humvee. And then 20 years later, you start to get arthritis, and you say, you know what, where I'm getting arthritis is exactly where I was injured during that Humvee event. So you had that 20-year space where you haven't been suffering, but that does not matter. Does not disqualify you. What matters is you had the injury or event that's in the military and is supported by evidence because you went to the medic, and you have a current diagnosis of, and you can successfully tie those two things together. That's what's important about successful claim.
So does the injury has to be in line of duty? What if, let's say you get into a car accident while on leave, but while still active duty?
Well, that's a great question. And the answer is, when you raise your right hand and you swear in to military service, you are part of the military, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that includes your leave, and that includes the weekends, that includes night, and all of those things. So let's say that, but it's also a determination. Your conduct or your life choices can also affect this. So let's say that you're on leave, but you didn't request to go on leave properly. That's going to make a determination. Let's say you're on leave and you made some questionable choices with substance abuse or substances, and that led to your injury. That's going to be part of the determination whether or not that injury is going to be compensated for.
So
but all of that aside, just your basic question. Let me start.
Yep.
I don't, because I want to be too negative. Don't want to be too negative about this topic. When you're on leave, and if everything's proper, and you're at a picnic, and you get injured, you break your leg, that is, barring any other consideration, that is valid for receiving compensation even 20 years later. Yep.
Yep. So just to follow up with that too, what if, and I'm thinking a lot of mental health issues that becomes aggravated after separation, but at the time, a lot of people don't recognize the symptoms, so they never actually went to a doctor while in service. What happens then? Would you still be able to apply for disability compensation if your mental health issues develop to a point where you can, no longer work?
Yeah, again, that's a great question. And it falls underneath the disability compensation requirements. So you have to point to an event during your military service, and then you have to be suffering from it today, have a current diagnosis. And and then if you tie those two successfully together, then you can receive compensation or get a rating. The VA has recognized that a lot of the times, a lot of the incidents that you're going to be pointing back to may not, in fact, be a part of the your official service record. And so then they allow you to produce secondary levels of evidence, a buddy statement or a chaplain statement or something that will help you substantiate the injury that was incurred or aggravated during your time of service. But yeah, other than that, it works exactly like a physical disability that you're claiming.
Yep. And I think I asked this too with the healthcare. How does one go about applying for disability compensation? Assuming, of course, you can receive benefits at separation. Let's assume that you've been separated and now you're going back to try to claim it.
Yeah, you would want to gather your records and look at your service records, including your medical records that you received in the service. Find those areas in that record that substantiate your claim. I fell off a Humvee. Here's my treatment for from the hospital showing that I received treatment. And it'll have the dates and it'll have the physician or PA, whoever was treating you at the time, and it'll have those notes. And that's so you request your record, you fill out a pretty basic form that either you go through the e-benefits site or fill out a paper form, and then you submit that with your the evidence that you've collected, also your current diagnosis, and those would be the three vital things in order to begin the process.
Yep. And just, of course, for our viewers out there who do have access to the internet, you can also find a list of these items online from the link that we posted in the comments. So if you don't remember off the top of your head, or if we're going too fast, just know that there is a list. And in fact, I think they put the list right before the file a claim button, so you could actually read it right before you file too. So let's just talk very briefly. We have a couple of minutes here before I turn to Megan, but let's talk really briefly about discharge upgrades. So what is it, and why might someone want a discharge upgrade?
There's a lot of reasons why people want a discharge upgrade. There's the denial of benefits that we've been talking about, or there's a matter of pride if they feel that they were their DD-214 or their record doesn't reflect their quality of service. Then you can go back and you can ask for a discharge upgrade. And so those things that you can correct or change on your DD-214, there's a period of time, typically 15 years from your separation, from when you can go in front of the discharge review board, and they can hear your argument for why you think that your record or your characterization was incorrect. After that, there's a board of corrections for military records for each service, and that is post 15 years or for certain specific topics of correction. You're going to want to show one or both of these arguments, that the discharge was improper or inequitable. So improper means that they factually got something incorrect or inconsistent with the law. Inequitable means that something was inconsistent with the traditions or policies of that service. And so something went outside the normal course of how they respond to an incident. An example of a discharge that might qualify for an upgrade would be that the veteran had a really clean record, was serving honorably, and then had a single bad incident where they popped positive for some controlled substance or alcohol. And it was later found that they had PTSD or some kind of mental health that they were self-medicating for. Well, you can go back and say, hey, listen, I was an outstanding soldier performing the duties, the best traditions of the service, and but for my anxiety, my depression, this PTSD, and my inability to seek formal treatment because it wasn't available at that time during the service, I self-medicated. Since then, I've been clean. I've got a clean record. Here's my, and then you show the board that was a one-time incident, and everything that happens, every little blip in your record that is other than that one time just makes your argument more challenging. But again, you can always try it. That would be an example.
Yep, absolutely. And I think you said earlier that we do take upgrade discharge cases.
That's correct. Yes, we do.
Yep. So do contact us, Maryland veterans, if you do need help. So that's all the questions I prepared so far. I'm going to go ahead and turn to Megan for questions from the audience. Here's to you, Megan.
Thanks, Cindy. Hi, Scott.
Hi, Megan.
So some of these might be a little bit repetitive, but it's a complicated area, so it's probably okay to repeat some things.
Okay.
So what about someone who was discharged honorably, 10 or 20 years ago? And at the time of discharge, they felt fine, but now they think they have PTSD. They haven't been diagnosed officially, but they've noticed some symptoms in themselves. Can they still get healthcare benefits or disability compensation? And what would be the first step? Would it be getting a diagnosis from the VA or from a private physician?
Yeah. Confirm, have confirmation that the health issue, whether it's physical or mental health that you're dealing with, is there's a diagnosis for it or treatment record for it or notes from some qualified provider that's what you're going through. And also because it can take a while for your records to come from the VA, it doesn't hurt to submit a request to have your records produced and mailed to you, and that's a free service. So there's no cost other than the time it takes to fill out the SF-180 and submit it. So if you, and as I mentioned before, it does not matter the length of time from your point of service. What matters is that you were in the service and your discharge characterization allows it, because if you have an honorable and in your scenario you had honorable and you're currently suffering from something. So you're going to need to show that you're currently suffering from something, which is why it's important for you to seek a valid healthcare provider and have them confirm that.
Okay. And I'm just curious, has there been any, I think the military and really lots of institutions in the past didn't always do the best job around mental health concerns. Have you observed a shift in that, these kinds of areas?
Those of us who are doing this kind of stuff would like to see, them becoming more accepting of that as a. There definitely has been increase in awareness of both military sexual trauma that occurs, as well as other types of PTSD events that occur. And importantly, they've also recognized that those incidents that may have caused those mental health, the trauma that may have caused those mental health may not always be part of your military record, just because at the time that it occurred, they didn't have the mechanisms in place to recognize it or to record it. So they are allowing for different types of evidence to substantiate your in-service claim.
Okay, that's good to hear. So for someone who, again, someone who's been out of the service for a while and they're working, you know, for a private firm of some kind, and they have health insurance through their job, is there any reason that they should apply for VA healthcare instead, or is there any benefit to that?
Yeah, it just gives you another option. If you come to the VA with existing health coverage, there's going to be no penalty if you have access to it, and you might have additional benefits or more favorable benefits with the VA. They're going to ask you what current insurance you have or current, health coverage you have as part of their application process. But I don't see, if you qualify, I don't see why you wouldn't want that as an option.
Okay.
And there's also prescription drug benefits that happen as well. So that you should look at all of those as your healthcare options.
Okay. So it's worth taking a look and just seeing which is sort of more beneficial.
I think it is, yeah.
Okay. And then what about folks who are on VA disability? Can they receive VA disability and also SSI or SSDI at the same time? Or if they qualify for one, can they not receive the other?
So SSI is a needs-based program, and so you should report all of your sources of income or change of circumstances or asset to them if you're receiving SSI. The VA disability and Social Security disability are two very different programs, and they do not conflict with each other or necessarily turn into an overpayment situation if you receive both. You should report to all of your sources of income for the programs that call for that and have that assessed. But no, you can simultaneously, concurrently receive SSDI and VA disability benefits.
Okay. And sorry, we're really jumping around to sort of different subject matter here. So it's a good pop quiz to see how fresh you are, Scott. What about somebody who dies before they receive their military pension? Can their spouse apply for the pension, or is that sort of a complicated situation?
Yeah, so we're bringing in a new benefit now. This is the military pension. The military pension is kind of like SSI. It's a needs-based program. So you need to be a wartime vet with what qualifies as that. You'd have to have served a certain amount of time, one day during a wartime, and then another period of service qualifying for that. As a surviving spouse, the veteran would have had to qualify for a pension. If the veteran qualified, then you, as a surviving spouse, if you're unmarried, also may qualify to receive survivor benefits of that pension, as well as other dependents. If you're under 18 and unmarried, or under 18 and disabled, and your disability happened before you were 18, or if you're between the ages of 18 and 23 and in an education program, you still may qualify as a surviving dependent for a VA pension.
Okay.
Just one more time, just to go around, VA pension is very different than disability compensation, and the pension doesn't have anything to do with your time or length of service. It is a needs-based program for wartime vets. If you qualify for that, you may also get things like aid and attendance or homebound, housebound, if your disability prevents you from doing certain activities or leaving the house. So
Okay.
kind of aside there.
Okay. And then just a final question, which isn't a legal question really, but I think might be something a lot of people are curious about. So this person wrote in from Facebook, I know this isn't the point of the show, but I was wondering how we, and in parentheses, civilians who have not served, can support our veteran friends as they come home and readjust to everything. Do you have any tips, Scott?
Well, the fact that someone would go to the effort to write that question kind of leads me to think that they would be the supportive person that would their own actions probably be assisting to those people leaving the service. A vast number of people who leave the service don't require assistance or whatnot, and it's always nice to be recognized for that commitment that you did and the time that you put in. Those expressions of humanity for people who are having difficulty upon separation, that's an individual call and individual comfort level from both the veteran who needs the assistance and the person who's wanting to provide it. So use your best instincts, and that's where I would leave that.
Okay, thanks, Scott. And I'm just gonna bring Cindy back now to wrap everything up.
Thank you, Megan. So we are now at the end of the show. Scott, for our fellow Marylanders out there, or any veterans who might be watching, what is the most important thing you would like them to know about veteran benefits?
Oh, that you may be entitled to it, and you should explore the possibility that as a benefit for your service, you may be entitled to these ongoing benefits that may make your life easier, and I think you should take advantage of them.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think a lot of times people, veterans especially, don't try to ask for the benefits that they do deserve out of embarrassment or just, the culture, the warrior culture, I guess, that they have. So definitely, if you are a veteran, you might be eligible for benefits and you should definitely apply. Thank you so much, Scott, for joining us this week. Dear audiences, next week, we will be talking to Maryland Legal Aid's housing law expert, Tim Darby, to answer your questions about tenant rights, and especially when it comes to animals. So if your landlord is giving you an issue and trying to evict you due to an animal that you have on the premises, it could be a pet, a support animal, or a service animal, make sure you ask your questions either directly through direct message or leave a comment to us, and we'll answer them next week. And of course, remember, if you do like this video and you think there's something useful in here, please share this video, and I will see you next week, Tuesday at noon.